Hello everyone, and this video is intended to report the results of the first annual University of Waterloo Professional Development Project Management Survey. This survey has been conducted over the fall term of 2015 and in the winter of 2016 for the first time. It's a longitudinal study of project management, that is, it's a study which is conducted over time and will be conducted in future years. The intention of the study is that we will take a broad view of project management and understand how the profession and how the practice and conditions in which project management is practiced are changing over time. This will help us to understand the conditions in which the people that we're training at the university in project management are going to be working, and therefore how we can better educate them to prepare for that world. And it will also help project managers themselves to understand the environments they're working in and to understand the areas that they might need to give more attention to and prepare for in the future. The survey has been significantly revised for 2017. We looked at the responses from 2016 and we have modified the study significantly. That said, the study that we have now provides a good initial benchmark. It allows us to see what the situation is at the beginning of our survey, and we will be able to compare the results we get in future years to this benchmark and to the future years that we get in order to understand how things are changing. So we have an initial benchmark that we get from this study. 111 students who were part of the Waterloo professional development program, which students undertake as part of their co-op studies. 111 of those students collected data, and I'm very grateful to all of them and all of you, if you're one of them watching, for the work that you did to do that. It is very valuable, not just to your fellow students, but also to students in other programs and to companies and organizations who engage in project management. So thanks once again for the work that you have done. The respondents were, as I've said, people who were questioned by our co-op students. That typically they're employers where they were undertaking those co-op placements as part of the project management professional development course that they do, that we know as PD5. Students have an assignment or have the option of an assignment that will be the conduct of this survey through an interview with their employer. And this was done in the fall of 2015 and winter of 2016. Most of the people who responded to the study were in professional roles, pretty much all of them. 48 of them were women and 63 of them were men. As the study progresses over time, we are going to be able to look and see if there are gender differences in the understanding of project management and in the approaches that might be taken to it. And this initial survey gives us some optimism that we are going to be able to get significant data there. We're getting good representation from both women and men inside the study. The responses were received from 98 organizations. These are from the public and private sector, and they represent a wide variety of size and a wide variety of industries. So the survey is a very diverse one, and as it grows, we're hopeful that we'll be able to present results related to various categories that we can identify within the survey population. Most of the respondents were from Canada, 9 were from the US, and 4 from outside of North America in other parts of the world. Again, we are hopeful that as the survey grows, we will be able to increase the international nature that the study has. I want to begin with just a summary of the results that we found from the study. It's important to understand that this study is a benchmark study, so the results that we see here are not as significant as they will be in the future once we're able to compare results from one year to another. That said, there are a number of interesting aspects of what we've gathered so far, and I'll report those in my presentation now. So first of all, we identified that many projects could significantly benefit from better management. There has been a widespread understanding that project management is not always undertaken as well as it could be, and that's certainly reflected inside the results of this study. We identify that projects are often fall short of the results which are expected of them, and we look at the reasons as to why this might be. The certification of project managers is sporadic, as reported inside our study. Some project managers have certification, often from the Project Management Institute, but also there is, of course, other certification in the world as well. Most people who responded to the survey believed that certification was something that was important for project managers, but many who responded didn't feel that way. There were less of those than those who believed it was important, but a significant minority don't recognize that certification is in any way important. Most people think that the projects that are conducted today are reasonably well managed. And we describe this as reasonably well because the responses appear to indicate that they feel that there is room for improvement in the way that survey management is conducted. And our job through this study is to identify the areas in which this improvement may happen and to help us consider how we can support that effectively. Most organizations don't use a consistent project management methodology. Those that do are often inconsistent in the way that they do that. So there are a number of project management methodologies. The Project Management Body of Knowledge from the Project Management Institute is a very prominent one of those that we look at Waterloo. But many organizations do use a methodology, but most of them still today do not have a coherent approach that they take to managing projects. Those that do have a methodology that they have adopted are often inconsistent in the way that they use it. Not everyone uses it, and the way that they use it can vary across the organization. Project management offices, another area that we are interested in, exist in a large minority of companies to support their project management work. The survey identifies that a majority do not have them, but they are relatively common, existing in what we might describe as a large minority of companies. Organizations also believe that they're reasonably good at managing stakeholders. This is an area that the Project Management Institute have recognized as being of significant importance, so much so that they've increased the profile that it has inside the Project Management Body of Knowledge. But organizations believe that they're reasonably good at doing this. Whether that reasonably good is sufficient for the projects that they are undertaking is an open question, and one that we may look at in the future. Projects are becoming more complex, larger in scale, strategically important, and international. And we are keen to understand how the project environment is changing over time. And in these areas particularly, we believe that there may be change taking place, and the survey has enabled us to begin to understand the extent to which this is happening, and hopefully to understand that over time. So from what we can see, projects are at the moment becoming more complex, They're larger, more strategically important and international, and this certainly reflects the increasing impact that globalization is having on an international level. There are a wide range of reasons that are identified in the study as contributing to project failure. In the study, these are now a benchmark, which will allow us to see the relative contribution that the respondents to the survey feel these reasons are having to project failure in the future, and to see if some reasons are declining and some are improving as a result, or some are increasing as a result of changes in the project environment and changes in the capability of project managers as we progress over time. So these reasons are important because they help us to understand some of the impact of the changing nature of the projects themselves. So having provided that summary, I'm now going to briefly summarize the responses themselves to the survey to provide a bit more detail on what we discovered. And the first area we're going to look at are the successful completion of projects. And the scale that is used in most of the questions for the survey is a 1 to 5 scale, with 1 being a negative response and 5 being a more positive response. So in this case, when we looked at how often projects were completed on budget, that was a scale of 1 being never and 5 being always. We can see here a pattern which emerges in the 3 questions that we asked in this area, and it basically shows that most people, 58 of those who responded, felt that their projects were 4 on this 5-point scale. So some room for improvement, we've interpreted this as, but at the same time, a general feeling that they're being completed reasonably well. We can also see that a number of organizations feel that they have significant issues in the way their projects are being conducted, and 19 of the 111 responses felt that their projects were being completed extremely well, which we may optimistically interpret as being good examples of project management practice. When we apply this same question to project schedule, we can see that a similar pattern emerges, but more organizations struggling in this area. Scheduling was the area where we saw most weakness as far as the completion of projects was concerned, and we'll compare the 3 measures that we looked at in a moment. But project schedule, again, an area where most organizations feel they're doing reasonably well, but a significant number having difficulty here. Within project scope was the 3rd area that we looked at as far as the completion of projects was concerned. And we see a similar pattern here to that which we saw with project budgets. When we compare the 3 areas that we looked at for successful project completion, our intention here was to look at the iron triangle of project management and to compare the various factors that are often traded off against each other as projects are conducted. Increasing project budget may enable a project schedule to be completed more quickly, and the project scope to be achieved more effectively too. And we understand there's a relationship between these factors basically. What these averages for these factors shows us is that project schedule is the area where most difficulty appears to be being experienced. And what this may tell us is that when organizations have to make choices about which of their objectives they're going to pursue when their project faces difficulties, this project schedule may be the one that they sacrifice in pursuit of achieving a project that is completed on budget and within the scope that has been identified for the project. We then looked at certification. We can see on this slide the proportion or percentage of project managers who have certification in the organizations that were studied. We can see here that a majority of organizations have no certification or have less than half of their project managers certified, and a smaller proportion have more than half of their project managers certified. This may be something that would give rise to some concern. Project managers without certification may be assumed to be less well trained and less capable as project managers than those who have received and obtained project management certification. And so monitoring this over time may help us to understand how the capabilities of project managers are changing. The next question we asked in this area was how important do you think it is that project managers have certification in project management? A minority appear to believe that certification is important. There are also a large proportion who appear to have little opinion on the topic, and a smaller proportion who believe that it is not important. So this is an area where there may be some scope for improving understanding of the value that certification in project management for project managers may have. How effectively do you think your organization's projects are usually managed? We can see here, again, reflecting the trend that people feel that projects are reasonably well managed, but that there is significant room for improvement. Does your organization use a project management methodology for its projects? 46 of the 110 organizations that responded to this particular question did use a coherent project management approach, either the Project Management Body of Knowledge approach from the Project Management Institute, or another methodology such as Agile, which we found to be very popular in many organizations. But that would be 46 of the 110 organizations, and 64 organizations did not use a methodology at all. So but certainly a suggestion here that project management may be more effective if a coherent methodology is adopted, and studies have indicated that the absence of a methodology can be a significant factor in contributing to project failure. How consistently, if they do use a methodology, how consistently do they apply it? And this question shows us that many organizations are inconsistent in their application of the methodology that they use. So less than half of the organizations we surveyed used a methodology, and of that less than half, they were often inconsistent in how they used it. So that tells us that methodologies are not being applied as widely or as effectively as they might be. And this may be an area where improvement is possible. The next area we looked at was project management offices. We asked if organizations had a project management office. The study told us that most don't, but a significant minority do. Those that do, a significant number of those had been opened within the past year, which was interesting. We're going to look at that further. And a few of them had been closed in the past year. So So closure of project management offices and the tendency to use them more or less in organizations is something we're keen to monitor, and this gives us a benchmark to base that on. How effective is your stakeholder management? Again, a sense that there may be some room for improvement, but that it's being done reasonably well. This is an interesting question. The Project Management Institute certainly believes that there is room for improvement in many projects in the management of stakeholders, and that doesn't necessarily seem to be reflected in the response to this question, and this is something again that we may wish to look at more closely. And then the projects themselves, we have identified, as this set of questions shows us, that projects are becoming more complex, larger in scale, more strategically important, and more likely to involve people in more than one country. This tells us that capability in project management perhaps needs to improve. If projects are becoming more difficult, which these measures would seem to indicate, then a continuance of the existing level of project management skill is likely to lead to a deterioration in the successful completion of projects. If the projects are becoming more difficult, complex, larger, and so on, if project manager skills don't improve and change to match that, then it is reasonable to assume that we're going to see more difficulty in the conduct of those projects, and it's not too much of a stretch to say we're going to see a higher rate of project failure. So this question we thought was particularly important, and again is one that we're going to follow over time, but a clear indication here that projects are becoming more important and more difficult for organizations to conduct. Our final question allowed us to get a benchmark of the reasons for project failure itself. There were a number of areas that we have asked the opinion of the respondents on the significance in project failure, and in these areas we can see that most of the respondents seem to feel that these factors did contribute to some degree. Our interest in this area is that we will be able to look over time and see the extent to which these areas are changing. We will be able to compare this to the changes more widely that we're seeing in projects in terms of their complexity and so on, and understand the areas in which difficulty with projects is more acute, and therefore where we should focus our attention in terms of dealing with that when we bring together the reasons for failure with the changes that we're seeing in projects themselves. So finally, just to return to the results summary, the study that has been conducted so far has given us an initial view of project management. It will be conducted over the next number of years, and we are hopeful that it will allow us to gain information on how project management is changing that will allow us to provide advice on that to the organizational community and to improve the education that we provide to help organizations to do things better. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and thanks once again to all of the students who have collected data for this year's study, and thanks in advance to any who may be watching this presentation that will be collecting data in the future. Your efforts to support the study are very much appreciated.